Join the Riff crew as we take an exploration into the Melbourne metal scene. We catch up with Planet of the Apes frontman Michael Sullivan and take in some live riffs from the Garden City. So kick back and enjoy. Welcome to the program here with the Riff Crew, your host Andrew Hogan, of course Stephen Mitchell, and this is Three of a Kind, where we put the spotlight on three great bands that you've brilliantly captured with all your camera gear. And what bands are going to be featured and who we're going to be speaking with on this episode, Stephen?
Well, these three bands played at an event called Menagerie 2019 at the Tote. For those who are not in Melbourne, it's quite a famous rock and roll outlet, I guess. Do you have any memorable events or gigs that come to mind from the Tote?
Oh, dozens upon dozens. It's still one of the best, rock venues, I'd say, in the country. I remember Joel Green, formerly of Armored Angel and now Witch Skull, he even says it now. The Tote's the best pub in the world, and they love playing there. They play there as much as they can. A lot of bands have played there. Memories, just too many. Seeing Damage in their day, and Bloodduster and Christbait, a lot of early 90s sort of, metal bands. Too many to count, to be honest, but just the environment's great. I know when they had a bit of a renovation thing that was happening quite a few years ago, everyone's like, oh, they're going to change it. Not too much. I think they've done really well to keep it in its sort of natural form. Okay, sometimes roofs are going to start to get damaged and things caving in and leaks and things like that. You got to do the maintenance. But overall, it's not like they haven't done a CBGBs where they've just
gentrified,
gentrified it all and gutted it and set it up somewhere else. So, it's a great venue, and it's hopefully here to stay.
Well, one of the great things about this event was it was basically transformed into a forest. So we had leaves and vines and whatnot dressed up both the downstairs and upstairs.
Was Jack there? Jack and the Beanstalk?
Well, the upstairs room, there were some bands, but I didn't see any giants there. I can't say I saw any giants, but one band I did see downstairs is joining us today.
And who is that band?
That happens to be Planet of the Apes, and we have Sullo joining us from Planet of the Apes. How you doing, mate?
I'm pretty good, guys.
And I guess I have to ask the standard stock question. 2020, we know a lot's gone down, but you guys were quite active on a live sense before all the shutdowns. How have you guys found, not being out, getting out to gigs and playing the shows that you love to do?
Look, this is probably the longest it's been since I've not played a gig. It's hard. It's part of our day to day. We're not rehearsing at the moment. We're not gigging. We were in the middle of a kind of 22, 23 date tour when COVID kicked off. We had to abandon the Queensland run of shows. It was just, we had to do it. But we've been keeping productive. We're using this time to write a whole bunch. We've got an EP coming out this year. We're looking at doing a split probably first quarter of next year, as well as working on material for our third album.
I'm sure the first couple of weeks, was it an emotional thing, just thinking, when is this going to lift? Because all of us still don't know, but I mean, over time, I think a lot of us have learned to accept that this is the current state. But, the first 2 months in, I knew a lot of bands, just the uncertainty was really strong. I think over time, everyone, like you said, you've learned to manage the time more productively by working on a third record. But were you hoping this was going to be a quick fix to get back out there and keep that momentum going? Because there's been a lot of tension in the first couple of months for everybody when it happened.
Yeah, for sure. Up until probably a week or two before we were supposed to go to Queensland, we were still hoping that things were going to relax and it was going to get under control. We had no idea of the impact that we were going to face over the coming months. So there was that little bit of hope that was kind of keeping a little bit of hope aside for the good things to come out. But we're also quite pragmatic and practical, and we have technology and we have the ability to communicate. We write collectively, but we've kind of learnt how to do the same thing remotely. Personally, I was straight stuck into work and transforming our work business. So I had a bit of a distraction from the fact that we weren't playing and we didn't know what was going to happen. But that hit me probably the second month. I was like, oh crap, this is settling in.
Melbourne is, I guess, known as the rock capital of Australia. It has many great live venues. Is there any particular venue that you love playing in?
For sure. Pretty much anything in the inner north has always been great. I'm not from Melbourne. I moved down here about 11 years ago. And even from when I was a kid, just reading street press, there was all these venues, Evelyn, the Tote, Northcote Social Club. Just, there was a list, and I pretty much ticked all of them off. I missed the Punters Club because that turned into Bimbos. But yeah, we put on some really good shows at the Evelyn. That's a great system, great room. And you mentioned Menagerie. We've been working with Dan Bills on our light show, and he really kind of brings that extra element to it. So venues like the Evelyn are really good for that, the Tote as well. So they're kind of medium to large rooms that, get 100 people in there. It feels good, really good vibes. But even some of the smaller stuff, like a whole lot of love. We love going in there. Those guys are great. Just smash it out. It's a brilliant night.
Yeah, you guys are probably one of the hardest working bands in Melbourne. As I mentioned, you gig a lot, and you were looking to play dates throughout Australia. Assuming things open up again, do you guys want to expand, like not only tour Australia but tour internationally as well?
Yeah, man, for sure. We've already started kind of avenues about Europe and North America. We play stoner rock, or variations on stoner rock. Australia's got a small population of people that are into that. Europe is an obvious choice for us, so we're already reaching out through this time, bands that we've kind of come in contact with, and as I mentioned, we're looking at doing a split that'll probably be released through an American label. Hopefully, we can leverage that to just expand our contact point. Really, I've never spoken to any band ever that hasn't wanted to tour internationally, and in our 2-year timeline, assuming all the things collide and it comes together, we'll do that.
And of course, last year you released your second full-length album, and as you mentioned, you're working on your new material for an EP. Has the songwriting process changed, or the style of music, or what you're trying to achieve in the composition of songs evolved over that time, or changed significantly, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. It still sounds like us, the new material that we're working on. The EP is actually a collection of B-sides from the last album that for one reason or another we didn't get to finish, and we're actually using this opportunity to finish those 5 tracks, maybe 6, with other artists from Melbourne and throughout Australia. So we've got some guest vocalists coming in from various different bands. So they've influenced us in how that's going to come out, but we're more and more involved in the scene throughout Australia, and bands throughout Australia are influencing us. I've been fortunate enough to get a sneak peek at some of the new Gazoo Angry Mexicans material, and that's just making us want to step up and push our boundaries and see where we can take it. I think we'd be very, very dissatisfied if we just spun out the same album every couple of years. So we're really, really trying to take on all those influences and all that, everything that's going on. We're not going to get caught up in COVID or the politics and things like that. This is a period of time that we will surpass and we will survive. And we'll keep writing material as best we can. And as long as it's shaking my ass and tapping my foot and nodding my head, then we'll keep working at it.
And speaking of influences, I hear in parts, maybe not exactly, but say prog elements or Pink Floydish elements to the music. Obviously, there's the usual suspects from a stoner perspective, such as Caius and whatnot. What are some of the bands that influence you as a musician that may not be obvious to the listener?
Oh man, our background in music is quite diverse. Everything from funk, dance, punk. We weren't born stoner rock dudes. We kind of fell into it through the love of groove and the love of heavy music. Groove is definitely something that we kind of always come back to. So when we're talking about where's that groove sit, we're talking James Brown, where as far as I don't want to talk for JC from a guitar perspective, but I've been playing bass for 20 years now. the prog element. I'm a massive Tool fan, more so because they're a prog band that writes songs. Because I love songwriting, I love songs, and the elements of time signatures and different tunings and all that kind of stuff. That all comes from out of there for me. But also trip hop, and it's good music is good music, and it influences all of us. That's where I think it comes down to.
And as a fan, I'm a fan of the stoner scene. But one criticism I have of a lot of bands is that, and Andrew probably agrees with me and ribs me on this, is that they end up sounding like each other. Like, it's very hard for bands to stand out and be unique. Do you feel a pressure when you're sitting down and writing songs that you need to be different to the rest, or you just write the music that you like?
Look, I'm not going to disagree with you about the sameness of a lot of what's out there. I think that actually gives us a better footing to be different. We write the songs and we listen to them, and we're going to push them in the way they're going to go, not because they sound similar to something else. But because we are adventurous and we like pushing ourselves. But through all this sameness, there are bands that stick out, and they're the ones that I think will last through the scene, last through the whatever we're writing here. Like, the international stoner rock scene is not huge, but it's very supportive, and there's a lot of really kind of good champions of it throughout the world. And for me personally, I latch on to the ones that are doing a little bit differently. Whether it be Greenleaf, and you listen to Arvid's voice, and it's got more of a soul background than anything else that they kind of did prior to him joining the band, and that's the element for me for them. Elder is a thing. But the bands that get me are the ones that take the core earthiness and grooviness and heavy and big, but do it a little bit differently, make something else out of it.
I've noticed over the years with the stoner rock scene, as we talked about it, it's like another niche genre, which it is, like power metal. All these sort of niche genres are really supportive of each other, and I have noticed the stoner rock scene is very self-supportive. Bands all sort of check out each other's music, and as you mentioned, being inspired by local bands, and I've noticed that in the last probably decade, hearing more bands I've interviewed start name checking and being inspired by their fellow peers, as opposed to an international act that's at a massive level, which is really, really healthy, because people say when they start a band, they grow up and they want to be like such and such. But the fact that you name check a lot of local artists is really, really cool. And I'm noticing that more in the Australian scene, that things are starting to sort of be kept more in the family, so to speak. And I'm also hearing a lot of international bands name checking Australian bands. So, it can be totally healthy for the Australian scene overall. Have you noticed any of that sort of uptake in people's responses to Australian music?
I can only speak of Melbourne specifically. Every time we do a show, there's healthy rivalry. We want to upstage everybody else, and they want to upstage us. And through that, we're like, yeah, you guys are sick. And that makes you want to do more. That makes you want to hang out and drink beers and talk about how good that gig was, and reference them, and bring your friends to their shows and things like that. So I've definitely noticed that the bands that we play with push us, and I hope that we push them. And these are the guys we're playing with week in and week out. So, we've been fortunate to pick up some international supports here and there, and I'd love to keep doing that, because you learn something different through that. But playing with the local bands, supporting the local bands, challenging each other is what makes us grow better.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with the word friendly rivalry, because, you go back further than 10 years on that, you know, the scene had its bitchiness, not just the stoner rock scene. I'm talking just heavy music scene in general. I've noticed over the years, great bands, but everyone seemed to be sort of climbing to this invisible, you know, trying to get to the top of something and to be the top dog. But I think that's changed so much now because metal's branched out. There's so many subgenres. Everyone realizes that there's only going to be one Metallica and one Iron Maiden. So just enjoy the music you play within the scene that you play and support each other. And that's what I've started to see. Everything niched down into its little groups. Still a bit segregated. It's always good to go to a mixed bill of styles. That's starting to happen a bit more again. But yeah, like I said, you hit the nail on the head about friendly sort of rivalry.
We like to try and keep our shows diverse. And I guess within, you know, when we say stoner, we're talking, you know, we're more on the desert side of stoner, psychedelic kind of stuff, that doom. Within those elements, we start to kind of see some more metal elements coming in. And as long as it's a good show and everybody's having fun, that's what we're there for. So diversity is good, challenge is good, supporting is good. This is a really unfortunate time because, you know, leading up to the beginning of this year, all of those things were happening. Every time we put on a show, it's like, holy crap, there's like 3 other shows, good shows that we would go to on this weekend. And the fact that that's happening means that there is general support there and there's a quality of bands to fill it.
Good times.
Yeah.
Your last album featured a number of collaborations, including the Fuzzmaster General Bob Bulk of Fu Manchu. How did you hook up with Bob, and what was that experience like?
Pretty mind-blowing. We just reached out to him. We writing the album, and JC was like, well, there's a lot of solos on this particular song. So I had a crack at one, and we kind of shopped it around and had a few friends have a go at it, and like, well, you never know unless you're asked. So initially we were chatting to Nick from Elder, and he had other commitments and it wasn't really his vibe. And then JC was like, oh, Fu Manchu, let's have a chat to those guys. So he just messaged Bob, and Bob's a man of few words, but he was keen. And then I think the next one we got back was like, cool, I've got time to do this soon. And then I think he sent us maybe 4 or 5 different versions plus some rhythm tracks, and we were just blown away. It was, you know, Bob Ulch, Fu Manchu playing on our album. It's pretty cool what you can do with the internet these days.
Incredible what we could do. Look at what we're doing right now. We're running a TV show in the worst times in our history, and it's awesome. So yay for optimism. Now, just for people watching the program, where is the best place for them to discover the riffs of Planet of the Apes?
Look, if you've got a favorite streaming service, we're on it. If you look for and support bands through albums, then Bandcamp's a great place.
we're the same. Not alone, out of place. Feet so tired of the rain, cold and open and gray. Take a hit or wash away.
Let's hear it.